Welcome back to Supreme Auto Elite. Chapter 1. The moment you realize something is missing. There is a moment every car lover experiences. It usually happens quietly. You sit in a modern car. The interior is clean, minimal, futuristic. A massive screen lights up the dashboard. The engine starts silently. Everything works perfectly. And yet, something feels wrong. You don't know exactly what it is at first. You press the accelerator. The car moves quickly, smoothly, efficiently. But there's no excitement, no emotion, no connection. Then you see an older car pass by. Maybe it's a classic sedan. Maybe a muscle car. Maybe something simple from the 1980s or 1990s. You hear the engine. You notice the design. You feel something inside you wake up. And that's when the thought hits you. OMG, why don't they make cars like this anymore? This question isn't about speed. It's not about technology. It's not even about luxury. It's about feeling. Cars used to make us feel something the moment we touched the steering wheel. They had personalities. They had flaws. They had character. Modern cars are impressive machines. Older cars were experiences. To understand what we lost, we have to go back to a time when cars were built very differently. Chapter 2. When cars were designed by engineers, not software. Older cars were born in an era where engineering meant metal, gears, and physical solutions. There were no massive touchscreens. No software updates. No driving modes controlled by code. Everything you experienced came from mechanical design. Steering was hydraulic or manual. Brakes were simple but communicative. Throttle response was direct. When you pressed the gas pedal, a cable physically moved. The engine responded instantly. There was no computer deciding how much power you deserved. That direct connection created trust. You felt the road. You felt the engine. You felt in control. Modern cars, by comparison, rely heavily on electronic systems. Sensors measure everything. Computers calculate everything. Software filters your inputs. This makes cars safer and more efficient, but it also removes raw feedback. Older cars didn't protect you from the driving experience. They invited you into it. Chapter 3. Real metal, real weight, real presence. One of the first things people notice when they encounter an old car is the weight. The doors are heavy. The body feels solid. Nothing flexes or rattles easily. This wasn't accidental. Older cars used thick steel and simple construction methods. Manufacturers were not chasing fuel economy numbers the way they are today. They were chasing durability. Cars were expected to last decades. Crash safety standards were different, but structural strength mattered. A car needed to survive bad roads, rough driving, and minimal maintenance. That extra weight gave cars presence. When you drove an older car, you felt planted. You felt grounded. The car felt like a physical object, not a lightweight shell filled with electronics. Modern cars use lightweight materials to improve efficiency and emissions. That's smart engineering, but it changes how the car feels. Lightness improves performance. Weight improves confidence. Older cars felt unshakable. Modern cars feel optimized. Chapter 4. Engines that were built to last forever. Open the hood of an older car, and you'll notice something immediately. Space. The engine bay isn't packed with plastic covers and wiring everywhere. Components are visible, accessible, logical. Older engines were overbuilt. A large engine might produce modest power by today's standards, but it was barely working at its limits. Thick metal blocks, simple designs, and generous tolerances made them incredibly durable. These engines could survive poor fuel, quality, extreme heat, irregular maintenance, long-term abuse. That's why you still see old cars running after 30 or even 40 years. Modern engines are marvels of engineering. They produce more power from smaller sizes, use less fuel, and emit fewer pollutants. But they are also highly stressed, extremely complex, expensive to repair. When something fails today, it's rarely a simple fix. Electronics, sensors, and software are deeply integrated. Older engines were mechanical hearts. Modern engines are managed systems. Both are impressive, but only one feels immortal. Chapter 5. The lost art of design and identity. Look at cars from the past. Each one had a face. You could recognize a brand instantly, even from far away. Designers were bold. They took risks. They experimented with shapes, colors, and details. Chrome bumpers, distinct headlights, long hoods and sharp lines. Cars were expressions of culture. American cars looked powerful, European cars looked elegant, Japanese cars looked precise. Today, many cars look similar. That's not because designers lack talent, it's because they are constrained. Aerodynamics dictate shape, safety regulations dictate proportions, cost-cutting dictates shared platforms. Design has become efficient, but less expressive. Older cars were designed to stand out. Modern cars are designed to fit in. Chapter 6. Buttons, dials, and muscle memory. Inside older cars, everything had a physical form. Knobs clicked, switches resisted your fingers, buttons had texture and shape. You didn't need to look down to adjust anything. Your hands remembered where everything was. This wasn't just convenience, it was safety. Today's touchscreens require attention. You must look. You must navigate menus. You must interact visually. It looks modern. It feels frustrating. And then there's the idea of subscriptions. Features that are physically present in the car but locked behind software. Heated seats, performance modes, convenience features. Older cars didn't work that way. If the feature existed, it was yours. No updates, no permissions, no monthly payments, just ownership. Chapter 7. Driving used to be a skill. Driving an older car required involvement. Manual transmissions were common. Clutches required finesse. Steering demanded strength and awareness. Mistakes were felt immediately. This wasn't dangerous, it was educational. Drivers learned respect. They learned control. They learned responsibility. Modern cars correct mistakes automatically. Lane assist, traction control, automatic braking. These systems save lives, and that matters. But they also remove the need to learn driving deeply. Cars are becoming smarter. Drivers are becoming passengers. Older cars demanded attention. Modern cars demand trust. Chapter 8. Planned obsolescence and the business of replacement. Here's a hard truth. Older cars were too durable. From a business perspective, that was a problem. Modern manufacturing focuses on life cycle planning. Cars are designed around lease terms, warranty periods, and replacement cycles. After a certain point, repairs become uneconomical. Parts become scarce. Software support ends. The car still runs, but ownership becomes difficult. Older cars didn't rely on digital support. They didn't need updates. They didn't become obsolete overnight. They aged slowly. Modern cars age digitally. Chapter 9. The emotional bond we no longer form. People used to name their cars. They washed them by hand. They repaired them themselves. They passed them down generations. Cars were companions. Today, cars are products. They are leased, returned, replaced, forgotten. The emotional bond is gone. And when emotion disappears, nostalgia takes its place. That's why classic cars continue to rise in value. That's why people restore old vehicles instead of buying new ones. They're not chasing technology. They're chasing connection. Chapter 10. Was the past really better, or just different? Older cars were not perfect. They were unsafe by modern standards. They polluted more. They broke down more often. But they offered something priceless. Honesty. What you felt was real. What you heard was real. What you experienced was unfiltered. Modern cars are achievements of science and regulation. Older cars were achievements of passion. So why don't they make cars like this anymore? Because the world changed. Because priorities shifted. Because efficiency replaced emotion. But every time an old engine starts, every time a classic car passes by, every time someone asks this question, it proves one thing. Cars used to be more than transportation. They were alive.